You realize one day the drive is gone. What was a natural instinct suddenly shatters, leaving a profound sense of isolation and confusion. Society often frames this absence as a psychological defect, a personal failing, or a glaring sign of a broken relationship. The clinical reality is quite different. A lowered desire for intimacy is a highly sensitive, multi-layered biological response rather than an inherent abnormality. To remove the heavy guilt associated with this drop, we must set aside emotional baggage and examine the underlying physiological architecture of the body. Mapping exactly how the body shuts down this function provides a clear, measurable path to restoring the system and repairing the relationship. The human endocrine system acts as the chemical engine for sexual interest. Testosterone is a critical component for both men and women. It is actively produced in the testes, the ovaries, and the adrenal glands. When these levels fall, the physical signals required to ignite arousal simply fail to trigger, completely stalling the body's interest in intimacy. Estrogen operates as the primary hormonal driver for female readiness, tightly regulating blood flow and tissue health. If these two foundational chemicals dip below their baseline, willpower cannot override the deficit. The physical mechanism for desire is fully offline. Specific life events and medical conditions actively disrupt this fragile chemical baseline. The most severe hormonal shifts a human will experience surround pregnancy and postpartum recovery. This timeline graph shows a woman's hormone levels throughout adulthood. Notice the massive spike during pregnancy, followed by an abrupt, steep crash immediately after childbirth. This sharp deficit is heavily compounded by the sheer exhaustion of nurturing a newborn. The physical demands of the birth process itself often result in tissue stretching and recovery timelines that create acute discomfort during intimacy. Rapid bodily changes after childbirth also impact self-esteem, introducing a layer of self-consciousness that suppresses natural sexual responses. Beyond pregnancy, conditions like polycystic ovary syndrome, or PCOS, introduce severe, chronic imbalances in reproductive hormones. These persistent imbalances act as a biological suppressor, actively preventing normal sexual function and blunting desire over long periods. Looking further along this same timeline, we see the natural onset of menopause around age 54. The chart shows a permanent, drastic plummet in estrogen production. This sudden absence of estrogen directly restricts necessary blood flow to the pelvic region. Without adequate circulation, vaginal dryness occurs, turning what should be a comfortable biological function into a painful, friction-heavy contact. These milestones profoundly rewire the body. They physically alter the capacity for intimacy, regardless of your emotional intent. Sexual desire is ultimately commanded by the brain. When we zoom into the cognitive center, we can see how external inputs affect the nervous system. Severe anxiety, clinical depression, and unresolved relationship conflicts send heavy stress signals that actively shut down the sexual processing centers. Chemical intruders hiding right in the medicine cabinet also interfere with these delicate neural pathways. Common prescriptions, including antidepressants, blood pressure medications, and hormonal contraceptives, introduce compounds that alter neurotransmitter activity. The artificial side effects of these pills frequently mask or block the natural arousal signals traveling between the brain and the body. Even with perfectly healthy reproductive organs, internal mental stress and daily medications can completely sever the communication lines necessary for arousal. Ignoring a prolonged drop in libido breeds deep resentment, severe interpersonal conflicts, and profound isolation. Because this shutdown is a systemic reaction involving both physical chemistry and cognitive state, it can be methodically repaired. The first pillar of repair is psychological. Having an open, clinical conversation with your partner about these specific biological factors instantly relieves the mental pressure. The second pillar is physiological. Actively lowering daily cortisol through stress management and adopting a nutrient-dense diet stabilizes your baseline chemistry. Pairing that diet with regular physical exercise directly increases vascular health and blood flow, naturally reawakening dormant organ systems. The third pillar is medical. Consulting a physician is required to investigate the specific side effects of your daily medications and measure exact hormonal deficits. A loss of desire is a clear physical warning light signaling an internal imbalance, nothing more. By stopping the self-blame and applying this clinical blueprint, you can correct the physiological math and confidently reclaim your health and your relationship.